One more important topic for the emergency medical technicians is assessment of a trauma patient. Assessment of trauma patient includes primary survey, primary survey interventions, sample history, and secondary survey interventions, and definitive management. Today we are going to discuss about primary survey and trauma. I am Dr. S. Prakash Babu, HOD, Department of Emergency Medicine, PS Medical College, Kuppam. So objectives of today's lesson are rapid and simple identification of life-threatening injuries, which is the primary survey, immediate interventions to sustain life and reduce the secondary damage, triaging to an appropriate hospital, determining the mode of transport. Primary survey is a systematic process to identify life-threatening injuries as early as possible and also to prevent any secondary damage. The purpose of primary survey is detection of life-threatening injuries early, timely and appropriate intervention to sustain life. It is a rapid and accurate assessment. Evaluation includes 5 critical areas. The 5 critical areas are airway with cervical spine stabilization, breathing with ventilatory appropriateness, circulation with hemorrhage control, disability, exposure with environmental control. There is another system developed to rapidly identify catastrophic hemorrhage and manage it. Airway with cervical spine control, breathing with ventilation, circulation with control of non-catastrophic hemorrhage, which is called the CAVC system. To rapidly identify, there is a 10-second evaluation, which we will see in the next slide. These systems provide systematic and reproducible logical assessment of a patient to identify life-threatening injuries. Usually it's a team approach. All the components are assessed together by multiple people. Team leader is the one who will direct all the decisions and interventions needed during primary survey. So the 10 seconds assessment. First you will introduce yourself, ask the patient for name and details of the incident. If he is able to recollect the events and he is able to vocalize those events appropriately, then you will be eliminating any significant problems with airway, breathing, circulation and also neurological disability. If the patient fails to adequately respond, suggest an immediate need for assessment and management in the 5 crucial areas. How often you will be doing primary survey? Is it a one-time process? No, it's a continuous and dynamic process. Anytime the patient can develop one of the life-threatening injuries, so you need to assess the patient repeatedly and frequently. So what are the triggers for repetition? Any acute change in clinical condition after any intervention, for example for performing an RSI or doing a needle decompression for pneumothorax, you have to repeat the primary survey. After patient movement, transfer to a helicopter or transfer to an ambulance, you will reassess. And once the patient is handed over, the taking over clinician or the technician has to appropriately repeat an primary survey. So the first component, control of catastrophic hemorrhage. You need to identify the source of bleeding. If there is a blood vessel which is cut, there will be profuse bleeding and there will be pulsatile bleeding. So you apply manual pressure to stop the bleeding. It can be a digital pressure or you can use gauze pads and keep a pressure with whole palm over the wound to stop the catastrophic hemorrhage. Use pressure bandages if required. Elevate the limb to reduce blood flow, and if there is a injury over the extremities, suppose a crush injury is there, you need to apply hemostats or tourniquets if needed. The hemostat or tourniquet should be applied as close to the wound as possible to preserve as much as the limb following surgery. The first component is airway assessment. What do you mean by an airway? Airway is the passage connecting external environment to the lungs. Assessment of airway and management of airway is a separate class. We will discuss that in the next lecture. For now, we have to ascertain the airway patency. We have to look whether the airway is patent, maintainable with oxygen, or not at all maintainable. What are the things that can block an airway? Secretions, maxillofacial trauma, bleeding, and foreign bodies falling back of the tongue if the patient is comatose are the things that can block the airway. For a traumatic patient, you will be opening the airway using a jaw thrust maneuver initially. Then you have to insert a oropharyngeal airway if the patient is comatose and is able to tolerate the oropharyngeal airway. Log roll to recovery position and do suctioning if suction is available, or let the secretions drain by gravity when you put the patient into recovery position. Look for neck and laryngeal injuries. If there are neck and laryngeal injuries, you need to secure a definite airway as early as possible. The next component is cervical spine stabilization. As soon as you ascertain the scene and you found the scene safe, you need to approach the patient, manually immobilize the cervical spine using the manual inline cervical spine stabilization technique. Apply a rigid cervical collar, appropriate size of cervical collar has to be applied, and secure the patient to the spine board. So these are the pictures showing. The first picture shows how to manually stabilize the cervical spine. You approach the patient from behind, tilt the head into a neutral position, then you will be stabilizing the cervical spine with your palms, with your hands over both the shoulders of the patient, and keeping the head close. This is manual inline stabilization. Then you have to measure the size of the rigid cervical collar needed, and you apply an appropriate cervical collar. Finally, you will transfer the patient onto a long spine board and secure the spine board in place. This is final step where you have strapped and secured the patient totally onto a spine board. Then you need to assess the breathing. Ascertain whether the patient is breathing or not. If patient is breathing, assess for jugular venous distension, position of the trachea, and chest excursions. In chest excursions, you are going to note whether chest is moving equally on both the sides and chest movements are appropriate or not. You will have to look for a flail segment if at all a flail segment is present. You need to count the respiratory rate and note the rhythm. Check bilateral chest movements and air entry by auscultation. Inspection and palpation can detect chest injuries. Percussion and auscultation can identify whether pneumothorax or hemothorax is present. Check tracheal position and the apex beat. Then the primary survey adjuncts for breathing is the finger mount pulse oximeter. Set the O2 saturation. Supplement oxygen if patient is hypoxemic. Perform a needle decompression for a tension pneumothorax, the details of which we will learn subsequently in subsequent classes. You need to apply a splinting for flail chest. Once you have managed airway and breathing, then you will go to circulation and you will manage if any non-catastrophic hemorrhage is present. Identify and control any bleeding at all. Look for signs of shock like skin perfusion, level of consciousness. Check the pulse and note rate, rhythm, volume, and equality of all the peripheral pulses during pulse checking. secure IV or IO access early, and start fluid or blood registration as may be appropriate. Once you have stabilized the circulation, check the neurological disability. Initially, you are going to check for global neurological disability in the form of GCS. GCS has three components: eye response, verbal response, and motor response. Total score is 15, minimum score is 3. Any GCS of less than 8 is an indication for intubation if airway is not secure. Then you have to note the pupil size and reaction, which gives you a clue about the intracranial injury. Then note the lateralizing signs. The lateralizing signs will give a clue to spinal injury. Patient having neurological signs should be tried to a center with availability of radiological investigations 24/7 and also neurosurgical facilities. And finally, exposure and environmental control. You need to completely undress the patient and look for all the injuries. Cover the patient with warm blankets to prevent hypothermia. Infuse warmed IV fluids and prevent or correct hypothermia. There are certain adjuncts to primary survey. These adjuncts means they are giving some information to you during your patient assessment. There are certain physiological parameters which we have already discussed, like pulse rate, blood pressure, pulse pressure, ventilatory rate, arterial blood gas analysis, body temperature, and urine output are the physiological parameters which you will be measuring during primary survey. Then monitoring and bedside diagnostic equipment are there. Continuous electrocardiography or multi-channel monitor which gives you saturation, ECG, and also blood pressure. A pulse oximeter, end-tidal carbon dioxide monitoring if the patient is in shock, urinary catheters, some gastric decompression, again if the patient is in shock, measure blood lactate levels. If blood lactate is elevated, repeat after a resuscitation effort. X-ray examinations based on ATLS guidelines. You need to do a fast focused assessment sonography in trauma, or extended fast you have to do. Finally, DPL is an option. So what are the interventions you are going to do during primary survey in a trauma patient? First thing, you need to identify a catastrophic hemorrhage. Use an assistant to give a manual pressure. Hemostats can be used, or tourniquets can be used as explained earlier. And you assess the airway. You found actual or impending airway obstruction. You perform airway maneuvers, which in this case is a jaw thrust maneuver. Use adjuncts like naropharyngeal or oropharyngeal airways. Suction out the secretions. If you are trained enough, you can perform RSI or secure surgical airway. The problems with breathing during primary survey include tension pneumothorax, massive pneumothorax, open pneumothorax, flail chest, and cardiac tamponade. For tension pneumothorax, you need to do a needle decompression followed by insertion of a thoracostomy tube. For massive pneumothorax, you need to insert a thoracostomy tube. For open pneumothorax, appropriate dressing with a valve bandage need to be used. This is also called Asherman chest seal. For flail chest, you need to splint the flail segment. Awareness of need for IPPV has to be kept in mind. For cardiac tamponade, you have to do a subcostal thoracotomy. Problems in circulation during primary survey are hemodynamic instability or hemorrhagic shock, a pelvic fracture or a long bone fracture. For hemorrhagic shock, we need to start registration with IV fluids and as early as possible shift to blood and blood products. If the injury is less than 1 hour old, you can go with tranexamic acid if the patient is not in shock. For pelvic fracture, you need to apply a pelvic binder. Long bone fractures, reduce appropriately, and splinting has to be done. During this process, you need to give analgesia to the patient. And finally, reduced GCS. For a patient with reduced GCS, you need to maintain airway management and breathing. If it is a medical case, non-traumatic case, still you need to do a primary survey, and there are certain causes which need interventions during primary survey. A. Actual or impeding airway obstruction. Again, you need to follow the same techniques, airway maneuvers. Here, for a non-traumatic patient, instead of jaw thrust technique, we will be using head tilt and chin lift technique. Suction out the secretions. Proceed with RSA or surgical airway as appropriate. If you suspect anaphylaxis, you can give adrenaline 1 mg subcutaneous. For tension pneumothorax, decompression or thoracostomy. For heart failure, you can use glyceryl trinitrate, CPAP if available. For asthma and COPD patient, nebulization with salbutamol, ipratropium bromide, magnesium IV can be given, titrate oxygen therapy. For poor tidal volumes, if there is a ventilatory failure, you can go with NIPPV or IPPV. If the patient is hypoxemic, there is reduced oxygen saturation, start oxygen therapy and titrate to a saturation of 92% minimum. For cardiac tamponade, you need to perform a pericardiocentesis with or without thoracotomy. For hemodynamic stability, otherwise shocked patient due to non-traumatic causes, start with intravenous fluids, inotropes and vasopressors. Cardiac arrest, follow CPR techniques according to ACLS protocols. Low blood sugar, give sugar orally if the patient is able to take. If the patient is comatose, you need to give IV 25% dextrose. For reduced GCS, again it's the airway management and breathing management. For sepsis, you need to give antibiotics and collect blood for culture and sensitivity. I could teach primary survey for more than 24 hours but still couldn't complete it. Primary survey is vast and you need to be repeating primary survey as frequently as required. Thank you.